All right, we are live. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Without Rules, the show where we celebrate people who exemplify the hunter mindset. They make moves, they color outside the lines, and they have found creative ways to channel the attention of their community into currency. This show is sponsored by Blue Crocus Solutions, a web design and SEO agency focused on helping home service companies. I am your host, Louis Vandervalk, and today I have the pleasure of chatting with Dan, or more recently, Daniel Platta. Dan,
Yeah,
Dan is
my new alter
self-proclaimed.
ego.
Yeah, exactly. Dan is self-proclaimed as the one person on the planet that makes bookkeeping not suck.
Mhm.
Excited to chat. Daniel,
It's
how's it
true.
going?
It's true, man. Bookkeeping sucks. I know it because we do it all day, every day. It's so lame. But once you have like super cool, good data organized, then it gets fun. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to suck. It just kind of like sucks by nature. So you gotta work a little bit to make it not suck.
exactly. So, to let listeners in on the inside joke there with Daniel, you recently got hacked on Facebook, and what a mess
I,
that was.
I totally got hacked. And I mean, it's a good thing I'm not a marketing person. You know, the world needs people like you to like actually know how these damn social media platforms work. I just totally got spammed. It happened in a moment of parenting weakness. 3 kids, wife is out of town, at sports stuff, trying to be business owner, do it all, and like distractedly got that Facebook spam message that goes something like, "Hey, your account's about to get shut down. Here's the things you need to do to blah 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 to reactivate it." And I was just in like go mode, just knocking stuff out. Like kids are doing practice. I got my 2-year-old hanging on my leg. I got my laptop out. I'm pounding the keyboards, doing the work stuff. And I just totally like fell for the easiest spam stuff. They just got me. They got me. And now Dan Plot is gone and he turned into a crypto slinging asshole for a little bit. And then enough people reported him, he got shut down, and now I got to be Daniel Plata because I didn't want to be Dan Plata anymore because I actually created my new Facebook account to kind of spy on the old one and like make sure. I mean, like I wanted to like see what the heck he was doing and make sure Facebook shut it down. Now I got to figure out if there's a way to get it back. I got like 20 years worth of crap out there. I want my crap back, you know?
Yeah, I've seen too many people lose their accounts. So I go through almost quarterly. So you can download your. It's a bit late for you now, but
Yeah.
for those listening, you can just Google how to do this, but you can download all your information from Facebook. And so I usually do that quarterly. It downloads everything. Well, you can actually pick what you download. So you can pick if you just want photos, but it can download all your messages, all your friend lists, all of that, and can be useful to save that in case you lose your pictures, stuff like that. So bit too late for you.
It's a little too late. We'll see.
Maybe
We'll
for
see if I can
someone.
get it
Yeah.
back. But now I'm
So
Daniel Plata. Now as far as the internet's concerned, I'm Daniel Plata.
yeah, it's weird talking to Daniel Plata, but we'll
Dude,
get over
doesn't
it
even
here.
sound right when the word comes out of my mouth. I'm just not a Daniel. There's nothing about me that's a Daniel. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. But I'll be
So
whoever Facebook wants me to be.
just gonna follow the Facebook gods.
Yeah.
So you do bookkeeping. You work with a ton of service business owners, and there's a lot. Obviously, this is a marketing podcast, and so we're gonna see how those two blend. And I think there's direct correlation. You've got to look at where your money is going, where it's coming from. Talk a bit about that and how bookkeeping can make a difference there.
I mean, my whole thing with bookkeeping is it's not an accounting thing, it's a finance thing. But it tends to be that when people think about bookkeeping, their brain goes to like envisioning, a 60-year-old fat lady sitting in a basement in a dark room somewhere, like with pen and paper and a 10-key, calculator. Um,
That
and
was
they
very specific. I'm right there.
they use bookkeeping like it's a thing they need to do their taxes, which isn't true at all. You don't need bookkeeping to do your taxes. Like you can do taxes with bank statements and a box full of receipts. You don't need any bookkeeping to do that. The whole point of bookkeeping is that it's active. It's not passive. It's like ongoing. If you can do it every day or every week, then it's providing the data that you need to run your business. So for me, when I look at what we're trying to do in our business, we're a finance company. Like, yeah, it works to do your taxes, and we do have a tax guy on our staff to help clients with their taxes, but we are a finance company that's geared towards giving our clients better data so they can make better decisions and make more money. And that's what marketing is. right? You put these investments in, and you got to measure, are they working, and should I do more of this or more of that, or less of this or less of that? And so, and marketing is not the only thing, right? Whether it's recruiting, marketing, buying a piece of equipment, renting the next location, every single decision we make in our business, even the fluffy ones like employee engagement stuff, every single decision we make in our business is a math decision. Like whether we like it or not, if you're a business owner, you signed up to play a math game. That's all you're doing. And
Yep.
bookkeeping is the math. Like it is the thing that helps you make these decisions. So across your entire business, if you have shitty data, I mean, your gut's probably pretty good. Like if you're a small business owner, you didn't start running a small business because you're not comfortable with like making some winging it type of decisions and running with your gut. But man, once you're like doing hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, if you're wrong by a percentage, that's not a few bucks anymore. That's tens of thousands of dollars out of your pocket if you're wrong by a percentage or two. And so bookkeeping just gets more and more valuable as you grow the business, and especially when you have like other people, you have employees and you have other people spending your money, you really need good bookkeeping to know what the hell's going on, or things can get off the rails pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, and you make a good point there, because a lot of people don't look at their numbers, their P&L, their different statements when it comes to that on a regular basis. And you can't do that if someone's not keeping the books up to date on what's actually, where the money's coming in, where it's going out, and that's such a valuable thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
What got you? Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think that one of the things I see a lot with, especially with home service business owners, is a lot of them now know everything that I just said. Like they're aware that they need good books and that there's value in it. But we all run into this problem where we have the best of intentions, and then the world happens and the business happens, and we have employees and we have customers. And the rough thing about bookkeeping is that it can always be done tomorrow, right? Like today, when you're running your business, you're going to have employees that come at you with problems, and you're going to have customers that come at you with problems, and that can easily consume your entire day. And it generally consumes all of our entire days every single day. And so bookkeeping is the one thing where it's like, our employees don't care if our books are good, and our customers don't care if our books are good. They just care that they get what they need from us as the business owner. And that doesn't make them bad, right? Our business is dependent on good employees and good customers, but they don't give a shit about our bookkeeping. And so because they don't care and they're the squeaky wheel that needs the grease, it's easy for us as business owners. Again, even though we know this bookkeeping can be so valuable, it's super easy for us to just procrastinate on it and not do it. Or not give it the attention that it needs, because it can always wait till tomorrow. So it's like this, it's just this paradox we find ourselves in. And I think that's, even if you have the skills to do it, which a lot of people try to do it and don't know accounting, and that's really dangerous because you can really screw it up. Even if you do know how to do it, it's just one of those things where it's like, do you want to have to, or do you want to let somebody else do it so you don't even have to think about it? Because again, you're going to have employees and customers that need things from you. And even if you're really good at accounting and you like it, it's the one thing that's always going to get back burnered, because it can wait. And then the business owner is always the one that suffers as a result.
It catches up to you. It really catches up to you. What have you always been bookkeeping? Tell people a bit about what got you into bookkeeping. Because
man, I totally got here by accident. That's just the cold. It's a skill set that I have. I went to school for accounting. I did finance, accounting, and economics. I did the 5-year map, and just when I graduated, they're like, "Here, you got these 3 degrees," and I was like, "Cool, give me some paper, and I'll act like I did something cool." And then I went to the corporate world, like you do. If you go through accounting in college, like you're either going to, the big 4, whatever tax firms, but I'm not a tax dude at all. You can probably tell from talking to me that even just my nature of how I interact, I am not a tax dude. No interest. So I went into the corporate world doing accounting, and I lasted in that for like less than a year. I was like, there's no ability to be creative.
You don't feel like a corporate dude to me.
I am not a corporate dude. I did spend like 8 years in the corporate world, but I found a sweet spot. And I would honestly, if like everything fell apart for me, I would go back and do my last job there in a heartbeat. It was pretty fun. But I did the corporate thing. I did accounting for, like I said, like less than a year. And I was just like, no, I can't do corporate accounting. It's like, there's no ability to create. You're just constant. I mean, that's accounting. That's like reconcile, report. But no ability to make decisions. And that's like the fun part of it. For me, that's the only value in accounting is I want to be the one making the decisions with it. I don't want to do it for somebody else. I want to help them make decisions, right? In the corporate world, then I got into a finance role where I was actually like trading commodities and helping clients and working with our suppliers. Like I got to work across the entirety of the business for clients like McDonald's and IHOP and Wawa and Sara Lee and some like really big brands that we all know. Little Tim Hortons for you Canadian folks. And so it was just super fun, like seeing the entirety of the business. And I don't think my brain clicked into like, oh, if I ran my own business, I would get to do the entirety of the business. But I like all parts of it. I love how it all fit. I love how bookkeeping and marketing fits together. Like it all has to work together. I did a couple of years of like M&A stuff when I was in the corporate world.
Oh, cool.
And that's like really using the accounting data. I mean,
for those listening, M&A is mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah. So we were looking at buying, I mean, like $100 million+ deals. Like they weren't small business deals. It was pretty big stuff. I shut a plant down, which was like a weird thing. We sold it to actually our supplier, so the employees weren't out of a job. But I did the financial analysis. I basically said, and everybody was like too chicken shit to do it for years, and I was like, no, we got to shut it down. So that was like my mic drop as I left the corporate world. Was like, we shutting it down, and I'm out. But I came when I started getting into the home service space, it was accidentally through bookkeeping. And then I went on a hiatus and now I'm back. And I say accidentally because my old business partner, Mike Dalkey, and I would go, he was buying up some small businesses. We happened to buy a window cleaning business for no other reason than it was cheap. And we were looking to buy shitty small businesses and fix them. And that was the only reason we bought a window cleaning business. No other interest in window cleaning other than that. It was just, this guy had a business. He, for whatever reason, had to bail. We scooped it up for next to nothing. And then it was like doing 60. It wasn't even a business. It was doing $60,000. We didn't even know how bad of a piece of garbage we had bought. But in a couple of years, it was $400,000 or $500,000. And I was helping Mike figure out the bookkeeping side of it. And then I was helping him do some M&A stuff, buying other small businesses. So we bought one in Cincinnati, and then we bought one out in Portland. And then we were like, oh man, we got all these window cleaning companies. But the downside of a window cleaning company is you're shut down for like 3 months in the winter and you still have all your infrastructure spent. And we're like, man, we got a major cash flow issue every winter just trying to stay alive. We should probably clean the inside of the house too. So then we started buying maid service companies. And this happened through like 2011 to 2016. So there's like a 5-year stretch where we're buying businesses up. And in 2015, we bought 3 maid service businesses, like boom, 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 like 3 within a year. And all of a sudden we had 100 employees we were in 7 locations. And then I started, and I was doing the books for all of our companies and trying to figure out how to like organize all these businesses and give us good data. And then we kind of exited him. And then I came in as CEO to run it all. And this is where things went. At the time, it seemed like a good idea. Now looking back, I'm like, man, this was the stupidest thing. We had me start a maid service business from scratch. Like we had been buying everything via acquisition up to that point, and we were like, we need to be able to go into a market and start from zero. And so when I joined the company, when I left the corporate world and joined Blue Skies was the name of our business. When I joined that full time to be CEO and
was that with Sean?
So Sean had a maid service business in Cleveland, Sean Day, who now runs Higher Lead Show with us. So we bought Sean's maid service business. He was one of those 3. He was the second one that we bought. And we liked Sean. And so we didn't let him go. We're like, we're keeping you. And he's like, I'm in, like, let's go on this ride. So Sean actually ran all of our maid service businesses. I mean, he and I did it together. And that was how we built a recruiting business, is because we had 100 employees around the country and we couldn't figure out like leading small businesses around the country without owners in those locations was super difficult. And that was the shitty part of the strategy, is like, we just didn't have the business model to lead remote locations. Yeah. And in turn, our turnover was high. And in turn, Sean had to get really good at recruiting, and he did.
Well, it's pretty high with those types of businesses anyway, right?
Oh, maid service is really rough. And we just didn't have the culture because we didn't have the local leadership. And we like knew that was a challenge, but we didn't give it enough credibility. And maybe I just
I
suck
was
at it.
actually asking, like, did you go visit these locations ever, or was it just like everything from your home?
No, I mean, we'd have to go on a regular basis. Like we had a plan that somebody at least was going quarterly. That still wasn't nearly
That's
enough.
not very
And
much.
no, and I got little kids, right? And then so 2016, we were buying all these businesses, and then I like stopped doing. I mean, I was doing our bookkeeping, right? But I wasn't doing it as a bookkeeping business. We did have Blue Sky Services, which actually still exists. It's my former business. Uh, we had Blue Sky Services, that was our admin company that would serve all of our other businesses. So it was like our shared service entity, and it was its own standalone business, and it did the recruiting, the bookkeeping, the marketing. For a while, we answered the phones through that for all of our locations. So it was like the admin company that supported all of our operating companies. And in 2018, this is why I say this is totally by accident. In 2018, Dalkey was looking at doing an investment with a buddy of ours in his pressure washing business. And they looked at the QuickBooks, and this guy was paying like $800 a month for a bookkeeper. I don't know why he was, or like how it got to this point, because this was a while ago too. Like $800 is a shitload of money for what he was getting. And they looked at the QuickBooks and they're like, "Yeah, we have no idea what this business is doing. We can't tell how much money it's making. We can't tell how much money it's spending." And so they hit me up and they're like, "Well, Dan, you do all the books for all of our
Fix it.
other businesses. Can you clean this up so we can tell what this business is worth, so we can even value it?" So I jumped in and spent a couple weekends like cleaning it up. Here you go, boys. So then they did the deal, and then they both turned around and like, "Well, why don't you just keep doing it?" And I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "How much does it cost?" I was like, I don't know, like a case of beer. I'm from Wisconsin. That's how we do it. And so that was like our first client. But then and Dalkey kept going out and doing more investments. He was like the prior CEO at Blue Skies to me. He was, and we're business partners in it. So as he left and started doing more deals, every time he'd do a deal, he'd be like, "We got to get Dan doing the books, right? We got to get Dan doing the books." And so eventually it's like, I got 100 clients. Now I got 200. Now I got 300. And I got 20 people on my bookkeeping team. And I went, "Oh, crap." Like I don't want to run any of these other. There's this tipping point for me where I was at a convention with Sean, slinging bookkeeping and recruiting under the Blue Skies umbrella. We were at a convention, and then I got a message from our GM in St. Louis that she was going to leave and go pursue other opportunities, which was like good for her. She actually ended up coming back after we sold the business. She went back to the guy we sold it to. The grass wasn't greener, but we wanted to support her. She had been with us forever. She was awesome. But it was just this tipping point of like, man, I've been gone for a week, and now I get home and I got to fly right back out to St. Louis to try to like figure out what to do to get a general manager in place. And I got like 2 days to do that. And when I did that, I missed my 4-year-old's birthday party. And like, I don't really care about a 4-year-old's birthday party, but I do care that it's my 4-year-old, and that all of a sudden I'm the dad that's always traveling and always working and not there for their kids. And so immediately it was just like scorched earth. We're selling everything. I'm out. I'm just doing the bookkeeping stuff. So we exited all of our maid service businesses, or in the window cleaning stuff that we still had. We either were selling it or putting in place a different operator besides me. I was like, I'm not doing any of that stuff anymore. The bookkeeping was too big. We were $1 million business, and I'm still trying to like run all these other things. And then I realized like, oh shit, the other mistake I made, in addition to having all these crazy ass businesses around the country, is I only owned 13% of this bookkeeping business that I built out of thin air, because I built it under our Blue Sky Services admin umbrella, not thinking like, oh shit, this is like Dan's jam and this is what Dan does. And Dan is the cog, and it not this is no detriment to my former business partners in it, but like a bookkeeping business doesn't need investors. It didn't need their expertise. They didn't have that expertise. They brought some relationships for a period of time, but not much. And it doesn't need any money. Like a bookkeeping business bootstraps. It just pays for itself. It's a recurring service business. And so all of a sudden I realized that, and had some other conversations with some other people. Like, I was like, oh shit. Like, I created this great business for these guys and I don't even own it. And that was where I was like, man, I got it. That was hence my restart a year and a half ago in Best Damn Bookkeeping. I tried to buy them out of the business. They didn't have any interest in selling it to me. They wanted to keep it. I don't know why. But they kept it.
So is that still running then, basically?
They still have it. I don't really know what they're up to over there, but but I left and started Best Damn Bookkeeping, and again, no detriment to them. It's the best thing I ever did. I wish I did it a lot sooner. But I learned a lot over the years, built a lot of relationships that are super valuable. So it's kind of one of those things that, and I say this about all the locations we had and the maid service businesses and the window cleaning stuff, is I don't regret any of it, but I'll sure as hell never do it again. That's for sure. One of those.
Yeah,
Learned a lot.
That's hectic. That's hectic, especially because how many kids do you have, and what are their ages now?
We got 3 now. We got 8, 6, and 2.
Yeah, wild. So that was your 4-year-old, the 6-year-old.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, you were on the road a lot to manage that.
It's like I want to be on the road a lot, but I'm very outdoorsy. If I'm traveling, I better be going on a hunting and fishing trip. Like I'll go do some work stuff, but so much of our work stuff we can do this way. And if I'm going to travel somewhere and go to a convention, I'm going to hunt and fish before or after that thing. Like that's my passion. Cool. That's what I want to be out doing. So I don't mind traveling, but I want to do it with my friends, with my family, and go bring some meat home, hopefully.
What's the favorite hunter fish spots that you've been to?
I got one that we went to. There's a few like annual trips that I do. I do a bow hunting trip in Illinois every year, and Kentucky kind of every other year, it seems. So I do a couple like week plus long bow hunting trips, one early, one for the rut. And then we do a lot of ice fishing. Like as a family, we have a fish house, and so we go up to northern Minnesota by Canada and camp out on the ice for long weekends. And I did one trip down to Mexico, a place called Cedros Island that's off the Pacific coast. And we did that last year with a few other business owners and just had a blast. So we're doing that again this like August. And that one's just wild and tons of fish to bring home. I need a bigger cooler to bring more back. Like, we made our last couple packs Sunday night. We cooked it up. And I was like, man, we out. We need more of this stuff. I gotta go back to Mexico. Yes,
time to go back,
honey. I got a trip planned. FYI, going back to get some more fish.
That's awesome. So back to the business chaos. What would you do differently? Let's say you were to pursue that path again. What would you do differently to make it less chaotic?
I mean, when I reflect on it, what really got me into the home service space originally was Mike and I going and working on we'd build the QuickBooks out, we'd strategize about the chart of accounts, and then we'd go meet at like Starbucks every Tuesday night. I mean, like it was religious. Every Tuesday night we'd be there for 2 to 3 hours, and our wives were probably wondering like what the hell we were up to. One time they came and they're like, "Oh, we thought you guys were just BSing us. Like you guys are just here working on spreadsheets," and we were just laying out business models and building budgets and plans. And so when I look back at that, I'm like, man, I don't know why we got wrapped into trying to run all these home service businesses for so long, or why I did. Like helping Dalkey in those like weekly running the businesses and the investments as we got it going. That's my jam. That was my favorite thing. I love that. Like, I think we were paying me $20 an hour, and I don't even know if I charged him half the hours for it. Like, I just loved it. Started running all the service businesses across the country and hated it. But sometimes you don't realize that you hate it, right? Like you're just grinding and you got your head down and you're just like,
it's just the next thing coming up. You're just playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah. And there's some like you run on ego and pride for a minute. And so you're just like, yep, I'm just a man, just doing hard stuff. And it was like deceiving in a way. Everybody would like hear what we were doing, and they respected it so much, or they thought it was so cool. And so it like implants this thing in your brain where you're like, well, everybody else thinks it's cool, so this must be awesome what we're doing. And meanwhile, it's like, I'm my head's spinning off because I'm trying to run so many different businesses in so many different locations with so many different people. It was an awful business model. But it took me way too long to realize that and like pull the plug on it. So I don't regret it, but if I was going to go back and start over for my leaving the corporate world, I just would have stuck with what I was doing for Dalkey and just started doing bookkeeping then.
Which is exactly what you're doing now.
Which is exactly what I'm doing now. And I think the reason why I say like I don't regret any of it is, man, the things I learned from running those businesses and having 100 employees around the country and doing so many different deals that we did in the deal structures. Even yesterday, I had a CFO call with one of our clients, and he's looking at a business partnership and expanding into a new location. If I hadn't gone through that gauntlet for 5, 6, 7 years, I wouldn't have been nearly as valuable on that call with him. But I mean, he and I spent like an hour working on the ins and outs, and I sent him 3 like documents that we've used in different deals. And so it's one of those things where it's like, man, yeah, that education that I got from those 5, 6, 7 years of running those businesses, it sucked, but damn, it makes me really useful now in my capacity. And so it's like, yeah, I don't regret it because it just makes me better at what I do. So it's hard, and obviously there's no going back. So it's hard to say what I would do differently, because if I didn't go through all that turmoil, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today, you know?
Yeah. Do you do fractional CFO work as well?
Only for our clients. Just we're everything we do, I think, is like a finance thing. Even when we do the bookkeeping and how we report it, we send a video to every client at the end of every month with like an analysis of what's happening in their business. Just something quick, but kind of a we just assume that most small business owners aren't going to look at their P&L if we just send it to them.
Yeah.
So we color code it, we condense it, we summarize it, and then we send a video like telling them what's going on in it. But at any point in time that they want like a deeper dive, or actually one thing that I get into a lot with people is their marketing. If they're, especially if they're growing aggressively, it's like, hey, what's your conversion rate? What's your acquisition cost? What's your ROI by source? How are you tracking it? And even though we all know to track it, so few people are tracking it, right? And so few people know what to do with it, even if they are tracking it. They don't even know what they should be shooting for. And so stuff like that I can help our bookkeeping clients with. To, again, the whole point of it is to help make better decisions. And as you scale, like, you're spending a lot on growth and a lot on marketing, so you better know where the hell it's going and whether or not it's working. So yeah, I do. That's kind of that is my job in our business, is expectation setting, both on the employee side and the client side. I don't call it sales because I hate that word. I'm just the lead expectation setter when people come in for a demo or when I'm recruiting people, and then helping our clients with CFO level stuff.
Very cool. How many people on your team now?
Well, we hired one last week, but I fired him on Monday already. I'm quick to pull the plug. Like, if it's not a fit, it's like we don't need to waste anybody's time. And because I own a recruiting company, I have people like lined up. So Vicky's already starting on April 14th. Like, I knew my next person in line. I got 10 more behind her. So I think we're at 18 people in a year and a half. Dang, so it's like,
that's awesome.
It's been chaos, because that's a lot of people to train. It's expensive training people. But it's been fun. It's as fast. Like, I think we could grow faster. Like, I'm not running any ads or doing anything. I'm just doing this sort of stuff. And we only have one metric. And I think this is important for anybody out there, especially if you're running a recurring service business. Like, don't overlook this. And this is a thing I've learned from doing this in home service businesses and bookkeeping businesses and recruiting businesses. Your one metric that you need to obsess over is client attrition. Everything else falls in line if you keep your clients. That's it. If you do an awesome job and your clients like working with you and you keep them, they make your marketing work better. They make your recruiting work better. They make your employees more happy, right? Like, everything centers.
They make your P&L happy.
They make your P&L really happy. And so that's why I tell our team, it's like, we just can't lose clients. That's our one metric. Everything else, we know what the P&L should look like. We're going to measure everything else. But if we just focus on client attrition, everything will be good. And so this business, because of that focus, it's just taken off like crazy. And again, I could push faster. I don't really want to. I got 3 little kids. I want to go hunting and fishing and play outside with them. I don't, like, growing a business is fun, but it's not the end all be all.
You want to go fill up some coolers in Mexico.
Yeah.
What I love that. I love that metric focus there. What are some specific things that you guys do when you're looking at, all right, how can we make the client experience? Obviously, the video is a really nice touch, condensing that down, basically doing the thinking for them so they don't, or doing it because they won't. But what are some other ways that you guys do that?
The biggest thing is always communication. And this is across your life, right? This is in your marriage. This is in your parenting. This is in your friendships. And it's definitely in your business. The people that communicate the best with us get the most attention. And I'm not talking just about business, right? if your marriage is struggling, it's a communication issue. It always is. It's you're depending on reading each other's minds instead of having honest conversations. And your marriage is always better when you're having honest conversations and just like getting down and dirty. And so I find that especially holds true in business as well, which is why I say I'm the expectation setter. I don't want people coming in thinking we're going to do these things and then we're going to deliver down here, right? And I don't want them thinking we're going to be delivering down here and then we deliver way up here. It's like they need to know exactly what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, who's going to do it for them, and then we need to execute exactly that. Like we need to communicate exactly what's going to happen, and then we need to execute exactly that. And if you can nail that, you won't have client attrition. Right? When you lose clients or lose relationships, it's a misalignment of expectations versus reality. And expectations are always a function of communication. Like that is how the expectation got set. So in our business, when I do a demo with somebody, I spend an hour with them, and it's not a sales call. It's let me learn about your business, hopefully add some value. Like I've screwed up a lot of things over the years. There's probably some things, whether it's marketing or recruiting or sales or whatever it is, like the first half hour of a demo call, I'm not going to talk about bookkeeping at all. Sometimes the first 40 minutes, sometimes the first 50 minutes. The bookkeeping is not the important thing because, again, it only informs all the other decisions we're making in the business. So let's understand what decisions you're struggling with in the business. So I do an hour-long expectation setting call. And then on our team, we have 2 people tagged to every client. And that's part of the benefit of having a remote business is they don't just have a bookkeeper that does their nerdy accounting stuff and then passes it back to them. They also have an account manager that's more of a finance person, more of a problem solver. And so there's better communication because we have 2 people monitoring it instead of 1. And we have the right people in the right seat. Like the bookkeeper is the accounting nerd. The account manager is the finance nerd. And those are different skill sets and how you talk to customers and how you explain things to them. And again, it all comes down to communication. And so we need to be able to turn around communication fast. We can't have it be that a client sends us an email and it just sits in an inbox somewhere, which always happens with accountants, right? If you try to reach out to your CPA, sometimes
you never hear back.
Yeah, it's weeks before you hear back from them. It's like we need to turn shit around like that within 24 hours. And so, and even if the turnaround is just to say, hey, I got your message, it's month end, so we're cranking stuff out. I'll get back to you next week. The client just needs to hear from you. And so we have a weekly check-in process with every client. Even if we don't have questions for them, we touch base with every client every single week, no matter what.
Over email?
Yeah, over email, just a templated like check-in. And if we're not hearing back from them, if we're not hearing back from them, we might fire them. We fired 6 people over the winter where it's like, I don't want your money. Like you can keep your money. You don't care about what we're doing for you. You're not communicating back, so we can't even really do a good job for you. So you're out, right? Like communication's a 2-way street. If we're the only ones communicating, it's not going to work. We're going to be left in the dark, and then we're not adding value, and we want to add value, and we'll fire you if we can't add value. Like we're just an investment on your P&L too. So we got to pay for ourselves, and we'll make the call if we feel like we can't. And if you don't communicate with us, then we can't. So you're out. So it just always comes down to communication. I think if we do that, and again, set good expectations and execute on it, we don't lose clients. Not to say we haven't, right? Like we're humans. We're not immune to like something slipping through the cracks, but we meet as a team. Our entire team meets twice a week for an hour each time. So we spend 2 hours together. And the whole point of those meetings is, where do we have risks of things slipping through the cracks? What's slipping through the cracks right now? What do we think might slip through the cracks? And so we communicate like crazy internally too, to make sure that we are constantly working on our business and making it better for our clients.
How do you structure those meetings?
I don't. That's the problem. I'm a visionary. There's no structures. Skip, who's a contractor for us, but like helps out with a lot of our big clients. I actually am like tagging him with, he needs to be the one to run our meetings, kind of like EOS style, because I can't run meetings, man. I'm all over the place. It's not,
love it.
Not a visionary skill set,
Yeah, no, makes sense. But I love that focus. I think that any business should be doing that. That's a focus right now. I know I've talked about this in a couple of lives here, but I just reading through this book here, would recommend it if you haven't read it.
Fans first.
Fans First by Jesse Cole, the guy who started Savannah Bananas.
Oh, nice. I
yeah,
think we got tickets to go see them. I think they're in town in
nice.
Minneapolis here this summer. I think my wife got some tickets to go see them somehow. I don't know how she did it. I think she like won a contest because you can't
Yeah,
get tickets to
they
those.
have a massive waiting list because
Yeah.
he's just built such an insane culture around absolutely everything they do is entertain fans first.
Mhm.
That's their marching orders for everything that they do. But he applies it in the book to any business, and I mean, you guys are already crushing some of that. But it's been heavy on my mind as we kind of head into the year two, as AI becomes more prevalent in marketing. The things that are going to make agencies stand out are how can we keep our customers, our number one fans. That's
Yeah.
that's really all that matters.
Yeah. Oh, I like
Yeah.
that angle too. Especially in a business where our mantra is like, we make bookkeeping not suck. I should probably read that book because that sounds like a thing we need to
I think you would freaking love this book. I think it's right up your alley. Just having watched you online, hawk crypto and do cool podcasts.
Crypto Dan.
Yeah, but I think you line up in their invoices. I'm not going to be able to find it here real quick, but their invoices or whatever when they send it out for someone to purchase like merch and stuff, it's just like hilarious. Their whole wording, like they've gone through absolutely everything in their business to make it like entertaining and fun and memorable.
That is my jam because even when I send out, I should have done a better job of this. We're sending like pricing emails right now because we update everybody's price once a year. I should have made those funnier, but usually when I send out like a templated email, I make fun of the templated email throughout the templated email. And like it's like when you're watching a movie and then they look at the camera every once in a while and they're like, hey, remember, like we're acting here.
It's like The Office.
Yeah. So I like to do that in my emails, like make fun of the fact that I'm sending the email while I'm sending the email.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's like nobody wants to read a freaking templated email, but at least we can make it entertaining for them. So
what price? Let's talk about price raises because I think that every business should do that consistently. Your prices are going up, gas, employees, insurance, everything.
Yep.
Talk about informing that for home service or any business.
Man, I've screwed this up so many times. I still probably am not getting it right, but I think I'm getting better at it. I think it goes back to communication and expectation setting again, which is nobody wants to get a price increase note, but they need to know it's coming and that it's part of the business model. So even on the demo call, when I talk about pricing with clients, I'm like, here's how we build your pricing, and we update it once a year. Every spring, we are going to update your price. So right from the get-go, they know every spring their price is going to change. And if their business goes down, we price based on level of activity, transactions, and bank accounts. We don't penalize them for revenue. So we don't like charge them more because they're a bigger business. But I do need to reset their price every year if they have more stuff going on. And even in the pricing email that I just sent, I said like, hey, we bumped our pricing matrix up 10%. Like we're still quite a bit lower than some of our bigger competitors in the bookkeeping space. Yeah. And so like I don't feel bad about bumping up a little bit. Like I do want to have really good employees that I can pay really well. So I need to make sure we charge enough to be able to do that. But me making the most amount of money in the world is absolutely not a goal of mine at all. I need to make enough money to hunt and fish and like take care of some kids. It's my wife's job to go make money. It's my job to have fun. But it's like we need to price enough to be able to like afford our business model, right? But I think so much of it is making sure that your clients know how your pricing changes over time, and they need to know it in advance, not just random. Nobody likes a surprise like, hey, here you go. So when we update prices, I think we sent 2 emails in advance that said, hey, just remember, price changes are coming. And then we just make it mathematical, right? It's not an emotional. It's not a, hey, you're bigger, so we're going to penalize you more. For me, it's like, I'm always trying to find the variables that create the work for our team that I need to penalize for. And I always tell clients on the demo, like just being funny, I'm like, I'll never penalize you for growing our business, but I'll penalize you if you give us more damn work to do. Right. If you're like swiping your card, or if you got 10 bank accounts and you're doing profit first and transferring money all over the place, cool, knock yourself out. But that's more stuff for your bookkeeper to do. I'm going to penalize you for it. Like, here's the matrix we use to penalize you if you are inefficient and doing a whole bunch of nonsense. So if you want to have 10 credit cards, go for it. You're going to pay us a whole lot of money to reconcile those 10 credit cards. I recommend you get it down to 1. But if you want to keep 10, go for it, right? Like you just got to pay us.
Just know what you're getting into.
Yeah, right. And so it's just transparency. In window cleaning, it's for us, it's how many window panes do you have, and a couple styles have, you know, and are we doing inside and outside? And then if it's like this type of window versus that type of window, there might be an adjustment. If it's pressure washing, it's what's the square footage and what's the surface type. If it's the roof, it's what's the pitch, right? So it's like every price, there's just a few variables. And so you're trying to find the 2 or 3 most important variables that impact how long it's going to take. And then pricing is always a market activity. And I think this is where some guys go wrong right when they start, is they look at their price as a buildup of what it costs them to do it. And so they don't charge enough because it doesn't cost them much to do it when it's just them, right? They don't have all the infrastructure. They don't have all the marketing. They don't have the employees and the rent and insurance and all that stuff. So I always say pricing is based on what the market will pay. It's not based on your costs. You should look at what the best competitors are charging and build your pricing based on variables that the client will understand and like the variables that are going to cost you more time. But you want to price based on what the market's willing to pay. And then it's your job as a business owner to build the cost structure that supports it. But don't build your price off of your cost structure. Start with the price and what the market's willing to pay, and then go back and build a cost structure that allows that price to be successful so you can grow a successful business. So many people do that backwards.
A big deal. Yeah. I actually pulled up the invoice here. And this is why I've actually switched to buying Kindle now. I don't know, in my old office, I don't know if you remember, I had a bookshelf that was just full of books that I've bought and haven't read. But I've switched to Kindle now. So I'll read the book in Kindle. I'll buy the physical copy if I like it enough. But Kindle, you can just like highlight everything and leave notes and then go back and search. So I just searched invoice and pulled it up right here.
Oh, nice. I didn't know you could do that. My wife was like, "Hey, you should get a Kindle." And I was like, "Nah."
Yeah. I read it Kindle on my desktop usually, or on my phone. I don't actually have a Kindle. But anyway, their invoice says, so if you get a bill from the Bananas, here's what it will say. Congrats. This is your day, the day you've been waiting for. Today's the day you get to pay. You may think you've had days like this, the day where you bought your first house, the day you bought your first car, or maybe your first all-inclusive vacation. Nothing is quite like the Bananas payday. So pull out your money order, savings bond, Bitcoin, cash, gold, credit card, check. Make that payment like we know you can. We believe in you. This is your moment. It just goes on and on. It's like it's like 3 times as long as what I'm reading, but it's hilarious, right? And if you're and he makes the point, like if you're on the receiving end of that invoice, it's gonna be funny. You're gonna remember
you're
that.
Not like, oh damn, I gotta pay this. You're like, that's fun. That's a fun way to pay somebody some money.
Exactly. So yeah, I think you'd love the book there. But man, there's so much we could go in. What are some things that people do wrong in bookkeeping as we wrap up here?
Man, trying to do it themselves. Like so many small business owners, again, they think bookkeeping is just this thing they need to do for tax purposes. And so they don't know anything about accounting. They're just like, oh, I can go into my QuickBooks. I just need to categorize these things, right? But they don't know the difference between what goes on a profit and loss and what goes on a balance sheet. And so stuff goes in the wrong spot, and then it like massively screws up their taxes and their reporting and what they actually made. They're putting loan payments on the P&L and just all sorts of things that you need to know accounting to be able to get right. And 90% of bookkeeping is just, oh, this is a fuel transaction. Let's put it in fuel. But how you organize it really matters so that you can actually use the data to see what's going on in your business. And man, if you get that stuff wrong, like it screws up all of your tax stuff. It screws up all of your reporting stuff. And then you got to pay some jackass like me to go back and fix it. And that's thousands of dollars. Like it's not hard to do somebody's books right from the get-go with like a fresh set of QuickBooks and you just crank it out. It sucks going back and trying to figure out all the things they screwed up, because then you have to figure out what they got wrong. You have to figure out how to undo it. Then if they already paid their taxes, we have this conversation coming this afternoon because they screwed up. They were using QuickBooks Payroll, which sucks. Don't use QuickBooks Payroll, by the way. Gusto, highly recommend. I use QuickBooks for bookkeeping. Just don't use their payroll. They screwed up with their QuickBooks Payroll. They double counted 15,000 of payroll because QuickBooks loves to make its own entries. And if you don't know how to match stuff, they double counted it. So now it's like, dude, this was 2022. Do they claimed 15,000 more of expenses on their taxes? Do they go back and refile it? So now we have to have this conversation. and we're going to start taking over their taxes. So we got to talk to our tax guy about, hey, like, what do we do? Do we go back and refile 2022? Do we put it in 2024? Like, now you're having these conversations because they didn't have a good bookkeeper back in 2022 that actually knew how to use the thing and do the thing. So I think I see a lot of people, they're doing it themselves, or their wife is doing it, or their mother-in-law is doing it, who doesn't actually know how to do home service business accounting. And it's not, again, like 90% of it is, simple categorization, but 10% of it, like, you need to know how to make that journal entry and what needs to get split and where it needs to go. And as a business owner, that is not the best use of your time, right? Unless you super dig accounting and that's what you went to school for. Like, you go to school for 4 years for accounting, right? It's not like a short-term thing. Like, there's a lot of shit you need to know to get it right. And there's a reason why it's 4 years. And there's a reason why a CPA has to go 150 hours. They have to get like 5 or 6 years and then sit on a bunch of tests. Like, there's a lot of nuance. It's like being a doctor of numbers in a way. Like, you have to know your stuff to get it right so that you don't get yourself in trouble and so that the data is useful. So I think,
and so you don't overpay on stuff too.
Yeah. So it's like, don't try to do it yourself, or don't try to have somebody that you know that maybe kind of knows an accounting thing do it, because they don't know how to do accounting for the home service space or for your industry. So that's number one. Number two is, don't hire somebody locally. Regional knowledge doesn't help you in your data. Like, them knowing what the weather is and them knowing the roads and the layout of your city doesn't help them help you financially. You need somebody industry specific, not geographically specific. Local knowledge is not useful in your financial data. Industry knowledge is useful in your financial data. So don't worry about finding a bookkeeper or a CPA locally. Everything that us nerds do is digital. There's no value in local. You don't need to come sit in my office, right? We can do this. We can go face to face this way. Industry knowledge is way more valuable than local knowledge for financial stuff. And the third would be, in general, do not sync up your CRM with your QuickBooks. It's the same reason that guy had the payroll issue. I have seen people sync up their CRM. It duplicates all your sales. If you don't know the back workings of QuickBooks and you sync it up, it's going to add more sales than you actually had. And if you don't catch it, you're going to pay taxes on a bunch of income that's not real.
And think that your revenue is higher. And
yeah. And I see this happen over and over and over again. And the CRMs don't know, right? Like, there was a CRM at one point in time. I don't know who was the first one, but a CRM said, hey, we could connect to their QuickBooks. They didn't really know why. They just thought it would be cool, right? And then every other CRM said, oh shit, we need to be able to connect to their QuickBooks because these guys can. And so it just created this like domino effect of every CRM. Even when you like first set one up, they're like, put in your QuickBooks here. They don't say why. And as business owners, we're like, the same reason I got spammed and hacked for Facebook was like, oh yeah, I better take care of this, right? Like, we don't even know why. We're just like, oh shit, I didn't know I had to put this in here. And it totally jacks up your QuickBooks. So unless, I mean, it duplicates a bunch of stuff. There's a way to handle it, but it takes hours every month. And so, do you want to spend hours every month on something that doesn't matter? Or do you want to go sell more and grow your business and hire better employees and work with Lewis on your marketing to get more clients? So don't hook up your CRM to your QuickBooks. It creates a bunch of extra work that you're probably not even going to know about. And you're probably going to end up with duplicated sales. And again, you're going to pay a jackass like me to go back and fix it all for you.
And that's going to cost you.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Love it. Dan, always fun to chat. Appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you?
Go to www.bestdamnbookkeeping.com. Bookkeeping has 2 O's, 2 K's, and 2 E's. It's like the only word like that. It's crazy. But go check out our website. You can grab time on my calendar from there if you want to chat about business stuff. You can find me on Facebook now as Daniel Platta, because I had to reinvent myself here as a proper Daniel. I got the Home Service Happy Hour podcast, so go check that out. There's an episode recently with this Lewis guy on there. You should go check that one out. So go check out the Home Service Happy Hour podcast. I think there's like an Instagram page for it too. There's a YouTube channel for it too. So go find the things and like and subscribe and smash the buttons,
Love it. Well, guys, again, this is a little bit of a different tack here. We've had a couple this week that weren't like direct marketing tactics, but this is the stuff that supports marketing. I had Al Levy on earlier this week, and we talked a lot about like business structure and the foundation and whatnot. This is a foundational point. We actually talked about the financial side of it with him briefly, and this expands on some of that. If you don't know your numbers, if you don't know what the heck is happening, if you don't know that there are multiple reports that you can pull from QuickBooks, not just your P&L, then you need someone like Dan to come in and help you sort all of that out and shoot you a quick video at the end of the month, because this stuff is important. And if you're going to fly from New York to San Francisco, you need a map. And if you don't have a map and you're trying to fly your business from one place to the other, you're just going to crash and burn, and it's not going to be fun.
I like that analogy. And we actually like it, and we make it not suck. So if you're trying to do it yourself, you're going to hate it. You're not going to like it, and it's going to suck. So work with us.
Yeah.
We can make it fun.
Get some more Dan in your life. He does crypto consulting on the side.
No, Daniel doesn't. That Dan asshole did, but Daniel doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So appreciate you, Dan. Again, guys, find something in here, take action on it. I think a good one would be, if you don't have a good solid bookkeeper, reach out to Dan. Get some time with him on a calendar, and at the very minimum, you're going to come away with some value from a conversation with him.
Heck yeah.
Alrighty, Dan, appreciate you. And guys, we will catch you on the next one. Talk soon.